It's About Time. Written by Michael Ford. Read by Dennis R. Lindsey. What do you believe in your heart of hearts? What in your life do you believe 100%? For example, do you believe that you will grow old? That there is a you out there, some way down the road in time, waiting for you to make good choices because their life depends on it? Or do you believe instead that there is only now, only right now, the only moment you are alive or ever will be? Can I be honest with you? I don't think I ever thought about it. Not until a month ago. And now, I think about it round the clock. When you hear what I have to tell you, you'll understand exactly why. I was in a bar. I think I'd been there before, but I decided whatever bar looked dark and quiet and anonymous enough. You know what I mean. Maybe you know, I was a drinker. I drank every day. I'd just slip in, order, and get into it. Maybe I'd remember leaving, maybe not. And sometimes you get someone join you. Could be a hustler, a hooker. Could just be someone who needs to talk at someone. And oftentimes, that's all it is. But once in a while, it's someone who actually needs to be heard. And that's different. So on that particular day, that particular bar, I guess I slid in there sometime afternoon. The heat that pounds the streets of LA in August has weight to it. You get into a bar with the AC on and the lights off. You spring up about 2 inches. Once you're in, your face gets lit up like some carnival freak by the neon. The barflies too, sitting at the bar in their jackets, mostly silent, intent, kind of like monks. You feel respectful around them. Leave them to it. I guess I got a different vibe, but folks will come right up to me and start in no problem. Sure enough, there I was minding my own business when I feel the weight of someone behind me. I'm at a table near the back, as far from the door as I can manage, facing away so I don't have to squint when the door cracks open and the place is blasted with that light from outside, like an angel just walked in. Anyway, I'm a couple of beers deep, just getting started, when he says, "Mind if I join you?" I turn slightly, see if he's got a blade. But he's just some old white guy, fidgeting his way into a chair next to me. I give him a once-over and shrug. Gray hair and beard, but not shabby looking. Just okay. An unfussy coat, a shirt, and a collar that looks freshly pressed. And he's no lush. Eyes are too bright. Movement's too sharp. But he's got this nerviness. He won't look right at me. Starts playing with his beer, turning it round and round on its base, looking kind of jumpy. I take another slug and mumble, He looks over his shoulder, then moves around to sit in front of me. He kind of hunkers down in his chair like he's trying to hide behind me. I get that sober feeling. This guy's trouble after all. I look up at him briefly, and he catches me full in the face with a smile. There's something in there, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I get some strange feeling from when I was a kid, like when someone would say, usually with a little music in their voice, "I know something you don't know." This guy has something to say. I figure I can always leave if it gets ugly. A few more moments, I just stare at the table in front of me, one arm on the table, a hat around my beer. I don't move. I got that move down. Only someone who drinks or gets high a lot can be a statue like that, or someone who has religion. I guess those meditating monks could hold their own in the sitting contest with me. Finally he says, "Friend, can I tell you something?" I've heard this line many times before. Talking of religion, people will come up to you in bars and confess all kinds of things. They have some crud to wipe off their slate, and once it goes through the ears of a drunk, it comes out purified like spring water. And it's so little effort to oblige them, you just sit there. So I say the only thing I can say. Sure. He breathes your genuine sigh of relief, and then another. He looks like he might cry, puts a hand to his eyes, but he goes another way. Okay. What I'm going to tell you, well, you may never be the same again afterwards. Are you ready for that? I look up. I run the God detector over him again. Looks clean. He's twitchy, but sincere. This is something else. Ready as I'll ever be. I play that line loose, not too sarcastic, just enough to put a little buffer right there on the table. His eyes dart around again. He's looking everywhere but at me. After a second, he opens his mouth and then just keeps sliding his jaw from side to side, weighing it up. He raises an index finger, wags it. Finally, he speaks. I guess I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Right before I can speak, he carries on. It's about time, okay? He laughs suddenly, kind of rolls his eyes like he just got the joke. Yeah, my friend, it's about time. I told someone about time. He cracks up again. This wheezing laugh, his shoulders bouncing up and down. He slaps the table with his palm. God damn, he trails off, shaking his head. I want to know what the fuck, but don't want to encourage him. You know what I mean. Okay, listen up. He clears his throat, shrugs, puts his fingertips together on the table, and then leans in a little. He fixes me with this look. I am in a unique position to tell you about time. He points at me and lifts his eyebrows. Cocks his head to one side. I get the feeling he's waiting for me to catch on. So go right ahead, friend. I play that one pretty straight. He takes a breath, looks away for a second, and then back at me. All right, then. You watch movies and stuff about time travel. I mean, you've seen a few. Am I right? I nod. Good. Then you know how it goes. Wish fulfillment, all that kind of stuff. I nod again. Taking another slug. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's very different. He sits back, looks me up and down. He's given this the big production. I figure, why not indulge him? Could be quite a show. I nod again. How so? I turn to catch the bar guy's eye, wave my beer bottle. Turn to my man. Another? He shakes his head. But I hold up 2 fingers anyways and wait for the guy to bring them over. Okay, we're set. Shoot. Okay. He leans in again. Gives me these tiny little expressions that say, okay, I'm trusting you to take this on board and hoping you can keep up. Then he says, as far as I know for sure, I am the one and only human being that has ever successfully traveled back and forwards in time. He tips his beer bottle towards me and nods. then winks and takes a mouthful. Okay. I give a little shrug like, yeah, and... Yeah. You know how long it's been around? He smacks his lips, waiting for me to shake my head. Since the mid-1960s. Before you were born, I'm guessing. He tilts his beer at me and laughs friendly, then leans in. The military, he says, glaring. Obviously NASA guys, too. Picking up on work done in Germany and Austria during the Second World War. Yeah. His eyes kind of flare as he says that. I was picked, he says proudly, tapping his chest, while me and a bunch of other guys. He says more modestly, we were meant to be heading for Nam, but they sent us to another place. His eyes go kind of nervy again at this, some fear there. He looks up, around towards the door again. Anyway, they split us up. One by one, we get carted off. They were rumors, crazy. You have to be nuts to believe them. But they were true. Holy God in heaven, they were true. His eyes glaze up. He's staring way back. I figure I might have lost him altogether after maybe 10 seconds or nothing. Then he comes back. So yeah, anyway, my turn comes. After maybe 3 weeks, dying of boredom, underground. I get briefed by a couple of guys in suits, a couple in uniform. They tell me I'm going to serve my country, that I'm going to make the world safe from the scourge of communism. I'm just sat there nodding, trying to figure out what I'm meant to say or do. Finally, they open a brown folder stamped top secret. The files inside are all stamped top secret. Part of me is excited, you understand. I nod, slightly dazed. So, I'm gonna just go along with whatever, right? Serve my country. You're damn right I'm gonna. He goes to slap the table again, but pulls up and pats it instead. There's such a thing as doing right, isn't there? He takes a moment, but it's apparently rhetorical. So I keep nodding like a frickin' something while they tell me about the program I'm involved in. It's scientific stuff, physics and energy and particles and Christ knows what. I can't take it in. Can't stop my brain trying to skip ahead, figure out the punchline, and then they get to it. Me and the guys are testing a new technology that will not only help us win the war in Vietnam, but win every other war and create permanent American hegemony. He flashes that smile at me again. This one's kind of cheeky. You believe that? That's just what they said to me. Like that. They'd figure they'd come up with a foolproof plan to rule the world forever. Even to me, a rubber-faced recruit, destined to be cannon fodder, take my last breath in some steaming 100-degree jungle for my country. That sounded fucking crazy. But sure enough, they take me along what felt like a mile of corridors and tunnels. And finally to this huge room. Holy shit, it was big. It was a dome, maybe 200 feet tall at the center. There's cables and pipes and walls and lights and switches and generators and control rooms, and everywhere there's guys in every kind of uniform and suit you can imagine. There are big screens around something in the center, and around it only the guys in the big white suits and these huge helmets. The MPs take me to a long cabin off to one side, where they strip me down, stick me in a weird shower, kind of thing where they wash me and zap me with some light gun. Then I have to dress alone, put on the sealed white suit and helmet in an airtight room while some guy on the other side of a window is giving me instructions. Finally, he comes in and checks my gear. I'm good to go. No one looks me in the eye. Part of me, well, I just want to say, no, thank you, and just walk and keep on walking. But I have to let that go, you know. He pauses to look for some understanding. I pull a face like I understand. Sure, I say. He nods a brave little smile. He's grateful. So then they take me to the center of the big room, where all the pipes and everything else lead to, where everyone's now looking behind the screens. It's a kind of metallic sphere, about the size of a VW bus, in a kind of harness, with these big red digital clocks near it, one set at 60 seconds, another with the time, hours, minutes, and seconds ticking away. It was just before 1000 hours. It's open and there's room for one in there plus luggage. You have to walk up a step and get into it, and that step was the biggest I ever took. Felt like I weighed a freaking ton. He pauses again, giving me a look. Biggest step I ever took. The air kind of goes out of him. He shrinks right there in this chair. I want to say something like, look, buddy, you don't want to talk about it no more? Don't. It's cool. And right then I realize I'm actually buying it. I sit back too. I think, damn, this guy's really something. I don't know what kind of something, but I don't know what to say. So I just give a little, He kind of picks up then. Where was I? Right, the step. So anyway, I get in there, and this guy in one of the big white suits tells me that they'll open the door after a few seconds, and my work will be done for the day. I say, okay, and I go. It's totally black in there when the door closes. I didn't even look up as they were closing it. I was shifting about, trying to get comfortable. A few seconds go past. It's dead silent. I just feel the sweat beating down my forehead. I want to wipe it, but I can't because of the helmet. I start to get a little freaked. It's so damn hot in the suit. I can't hear anything. Then there's this vibration. It just keeps building up. It starts to get kind of noisy in there, then deafening. It was hell. I don't know how long it went on. I'm just holding on to these little handles either side of my butt, gritting my teeth. But then it just stops. And sure enough, the door opens. I climb out and they're all kind of gathered there. The guys in white suits, about 50 feet back, maybe 20 guys in all these different uniforms. A few of them look like brass. And a guy in white asks me how I feel. I give the thumbs up, and the place goes nuts. Whooping and hollering and handshakes and high fives. Then they catch the dumb look on my face and point behind me. I turn around, and all I can see is the clock, 09:55. I look back, shrug, and it's like I'm Bob fucking Hope. They're laughing their asses off. No shit, I assure you. He leans his head down and strokes his fingertips gently across his forehead, back and forth, face expressionless. No shit. Well, I just take another swallow. I don't know what else to do. I'm hooked. So anyway, there's much rejoicing. And they want me to go again. They tell me they think they banged the kinks out of the system and we're really onto something now. That night, one guy lets it slip in the mess hall that eventually they'll have a way bigger capsule, half the size of the whole dome, enough to fit a battalion or two. I guess he's only telling me this because he thinks I'm never going to make it out of there alive. He looks me in the eye again, spreads his hands like a magician, and pulls a face. But here I am. Some story. Just getting started, buddy. He smiles. I smile back. Hard not to like this guy. Crazy or not, we all like a good story. So I make a few more small jumps, back and forward a few minutes each time. Then it starts to get serious. They try some other guys, but for some reason, when they send them back, they don't come back again. They open the door and there's no fucker in there. They lose a couple of Special Forces guys and everyone starts getting nervous. These guys are going to be sent on missions to win the Vietnam War. He takes a sip of beer, then a longer pull. Then he just keeps going. Finishes the bottle. He shivers then, like someone just walked over his grave. He's gone someplace else again. Looks kind of shook up. I want to say something, but I got nothing. I take another drink and start to feel real awkward. I want to split, but no one ever spun me a story like this one, and I gotta hear the end. So what happened, man? You're still in one piece, ain't you? You got out of it okay? He seems to hear me, but it's like he's having this internal conversation, and I'm butting in. After a few, he looks back at me like he never seen me before. Then recognition. Oh, right. Well, yeah, so, okay, seems like I was the only one, well, I was like the rabbit's foot, you understand. For some reason, I kept making it. So they decided to train my ass. Combat, infiltration, intelligence, surveillance, languages, all kinds of stuff. All over. They figured I could go back anytime and I get the job done. But then, just as I was about to go back, my first mission, it seems like the lid was blown on the program. I heard Nixon finally got wind of it and freaked. Asked a lot of questions. Over the months I'd gotten friendly with a guard on the base, and he told me the eggheads and the brass were having to have endless sessions to try to map out the repercussions of the work, to prove it was actually workable. Apparently, they had all these huge walls of charts and diagrams, drove him cuckoo trying to figure it all out. The big question was, if I went back and changed the course of World War II, maybe there would never be a case where the research would have come to light, so that we continued to make the machine that went back and won the war. You follow? Or without Vietnam, the program would never had the go-ahead. There was this idea that however things are is the only way they can be. Any attempt to make changes will nullify the possibility of making the changes. Understand? Well, in the end, there's a lot of covert testing, a lot of trial and error. Some things are worth changing, they figure. The timeline would alter accordingly, they hoped. But for the future, that's different. Less messy in theory. I could go into the future and come back with intelligence and see how America needs to change its policies around the world to stay on top. You know, shuffle its cards. Problem for the guy doing it is, it's hard to keep your mind in one piece once you start going back and forwards. Believe me, kid, it gets so you can't get a grip on anything, and everything starts to look flimsy, kind of meaningless. Like you get infinite do-overs. You fuck up, you call a mulligan. Right. I know it's silly, taking it in. So what happened next? Oh man, I had years in the service. Did shit make your head explode. Assassinations up close and personal, or with a sniper rifle or C4. Stock and currency, market manipulation, coups, even some lobbying work. Amazing what changes the course of history. Made a tiny few laying bets. I mean, why not? No one's looking over my shoulder. So far, so good, you might think. But now they say the Chinese got themselves the tech. The only good thing about that I can possibly think of, now maybe I'll have someone to talk to about this shit who will actually understand. He drinks again, stares at the door. Believe you me, son, there's nothing that'll make you as lonely as being one of a kind. Those queers and one-horse towns up and down this great country, even those guys can hop a Greyhound to someplace bigger and find themselves a pole to smoke. History's littered with people who were the last to ever speak their language. No one left to talk to. All those creatures who find themselves with no one left to fuck. And me, the only person I ever met who knows what I know. And what's that? That humanity's got a real problem with time. Seems like we won't, maybe can't learn the lessons of the past to plan for a better future. We're not built for it. We're real good at wasting our lives, regretting the past, worrying about the future. Or we live in the now so much we don't look up the tracks, even the tiniest bit, and figure out that we'd better be ready. Doctors that smoke, for Christ's sakes. Drive without a seatbelt on. Running out of cheap oil. Climate change. You think that enough smart people are out there trying to do something about that one? Well, maybe the U.S. has done squat, because the few who really pull the strings figure we can always go back and do something about it. But I've seen what's coming, and in less than a century, the whole country's practically unrecognizable. I shit you not. That's... yeah, ain't it? Well, Fred, I've been everywhere, every when, and believe you me, we fuck up so much, I'm not even sure we can do any different. Makes you wonder about fate. God. Something's got to be pushing us this hard off the cliff. Can't be just us, can it? Right. So why aren't you going back to help fix things? Too old, they say. I'm too damn old. He laughs dryly, strokes his beard. That's bullshit. Well, it ain't just that anyway. I guess they don't want guys like me around forever. Too much baggage. Seen too much, done too much, think too much. But they got new blood. That's true enough. They had me train younger guys for years. Handpicked out of the Secret Service. They're athletes. You think astronauts have the right stuff? You should see these guys in action. Machines. You take it from me, there's nothing behind those eyes. They're kind of creepy. Well, who knows? They may be gearing up for something big. I mean, everyone's useful for something, right? So why are you telling me all this? Aren't you worried they'll catch up to you? I mean, this is serious shit. I start to feel pretty nervous right there. You can imagine. Oh, don't worry about that, friend. I guess if there was anything came of it, they'd go and change it. And it wouldn't have happened in the first place. Ouch. I rub my head. Yeah, it drives you nuts. Well, there's a point you go past, like learning anything new. First the confusion, then all the work to deal with it, the ups and downs, but sooner or later, it's just how it is. Your mind adjusts. Whether that's its own kind of madness, I don't know. I do know that even though I've lived this way a long time, and I can handle it on most levels, one of the hardest things is talking to guys like you and knowing that for the rest of your life, you'll never quite believe me. He kind of squints at me, as if trying to figure out how much I buy it. Then he winks. In the end, what does it matter? I tell you the truth because if there's one thing that really scrapes away at the soul when you live like this, it's the lies. The lies you tell, the lies you get told, the truths you can't tell, the deception, omission, the bluff, the silence, the way it cuts you off from other folks. Lies are like a nest of vipers, you understand. They obscure the truth. And you try to get to the truth through those lies, you're going to get bit. Lies, man. You get so sick of it. But the truth wants to be told. Do you know that? I guess. You guess right. But you want to know something that'll really freak you out? Bring all this home? Uh-huh. I don't really. You know when the Second World War was won? It was 45. Until 1986, the Second World War was won in 1950. 5 more years. He sits back, shaking his head. You know how much of history changed overnight because of that? Everything that you think you know about world history since 1945 has only been there for less than 30 years. What's fucked up is that I can still remember the original timeline. Maybe I survived all this time because I have some kind of immunity to schizophrenia. Oh God. I got my head in my hands. I look up at him. I guess in my eyes I'm begging him to tell me he's putting me on. He reads it, holds up his hands. I'm sorry, friend. I'm just saying. Why? I hiss at him. Now I'm actually getting kind of pissed. He holds up his hands again. Well, go ahead and think about it. It's hard at first, trying to get your head around the idea of a whole other reality, something you can't see. But you can feel it, can't you? That something just not as it seems. If I got you in a room with half the eggheads I met on the base, they'd scramble your brains once and for all. All that quantum relativity and shit, the uncertainty of everything. But I can't find the words. I take a long swallow of beer and just call over my shoulder for 2 more. Listen, you can drink like a madman all your short life, or you can open your mind and actually live the life you got given. The you that's hanging around up the road is waiting for you to work that out. His life's in your hands. But why me? I don't understand. Why me? The beers come and I just pile one straight down. My throat's got that cold burn. I can't manage the next one right away. The mist settles in and I feel a little better. But I'm vexed as fuck. Think about it. Just hit the streets and think about it. Go home and think about it and pay it forward. The old man stands up, raises his bottle to me and throws down the last of it. He places it down gently, then pulls out 100 and slides it under the bottle. He takes one more long look towards the door and heads for it without another word. I sit there dazed for maybe half an hour. The second beer's warm by the time I put my hand on it. I get up and just walk out. Out on the street, I look around. It all looks, sounds, smells, and feels normal. The summer sun baking the cars, people, streets, sidewalks, buildings, slowing everything down, but then it hits me. Maybe until yesterday, California was wiped out by Soviet nukes. Or until 6 months ago, Al-Qaeda wasted L.A. with a dirty bomb, or some other bunch got us with smallpox, or God knows what else. Should I feel safer or less so? Or just the same? I'm sober again by this point, and tired and hungry. At least my body feels normal. I drift along the street to a Wendy's, get some cheap carbs inside me. The people all look normal. The Mexicans, other African Americans, the whites. But I don't feel normal. I'm carrying around the most mind-bending story I've ever heard, and I can hardly fit it between my ears. And yet after an hour it doesn't seem so crazy. I mean, look at all this. How much of our technology, architecture, civil engineering, how much of that would look like magic to folks in the Middle Ages? I'm saying, why not? Why can't we travel through time? I read shit in the news about it, how some bunch of scientists over here say it's possible, another bunch over there say no way. Who knows? And would a nation not try to use such technology to advance or protect their position in the world? Isn't that just the way we roll? All of us? By the time night comes around, I'm just lying on my bed with the window open, listening to the rhythms of the city. There's a little breeze mercifully, but it's still damn hot. Obviously, I can't get this guy out of my head. Well, he told me to think about it. Maybe it's just his thing. Makes himself feel better, telling drunks his story, just in case I get into their heads to shape up. He told me to think on it, and I spend all night doing just that, wondering what might be going on out there. It hits me. It's no more amazing than the fact that we're here at all. Even being able to lay awake all night thinking about this guy's story, that's incredible in itself. Never mind the time warp business. Is God or some other being or mechanism controlling things? Is that where the new toy came from, to change the past or the future? Is it meant to be part of our trip? Or is the point that we should make better choices, think further down the road? I mean, how can you know what's right except what seems right at the time? You can go round and around in circles, back into your past, off into your future. But like that guy, you'll just keep coming back to today. I guess it'd be great if we could somehow get it all to make sense, like a nice, neat story that runs from beginning to end. But that ain't how life is. You go ahead and make your plans, and if it makes you feel any better, but then stand back and see what happens. I've been tempted to go back to that bar, see if he's in there, because I still got a head full of questions. But it's a month now, and I've been sober since that day. I don't want to put myself in reach of temptation. Know what I mean? But I feel like he's out there, trying to adjust after all that craziness. Being out of the bottle now, I guess I relate a little. Maybe the Chinese will grab him and he'll sing like a bird for him, just for the sake of talking to people who know what he's talking about. I do it twice a week at AA. It feels good, like we're getting the lies out of us as much as the drink. It's like he said, somehow the worst truth is never quite as bad as the lies, like a nest of vipers that cover the truth.